All right. Thanks, Lynn, for making the time in your schedule. You've been a part of the no, choosing it all your way. I'm thinking of the podcast, choosing it all your way. Coaching program. And it's funny that the podcast came up because that's also a way that you started to get to know a little bit of some of the tools of the coaching program. But what finally led you to be like, you know what, let me reach out, let me explore this further?
Well, first of all, it's hard to believe it's only been 2 months. There's been such a shift in just my way of approaching things and just the expansion, the flexibility, the abundance of opportunities and people and all these things that have come in such timely manners. But I'd first met you and your mom at the Michael Burnout Core Live back in April of 22, and found you both absolutely delightful to chat with and such. And then when you told me about your podcast, I started listening to that, and that started to intrigue me because it was a totally different way for me of thinking about things. It was on the cusp of many little bits and pieces I had from other things years, decades past in my life. And it was pulling that all together. And that was really where things came to a head. And I'm like, this is what's going to get me unstuck. Because with Michael Burnout stuff and the changes that I was making, I felt like it was more of the getting kind of up a hill and then down again. And it was hard to make things stick. And I knew enough from all of that to know that when that's happening, that's you, right? That's you. That's what you're doing and your habits and things like that. But listening to your podcast, listening to how you spoke about things and the perspective is what really launched me forward into saying, this is the next thing I need to do.
And I love the acknowledgement. Thank you so much of how inclusive the coaching program is, because it really is the one of the things is for you to remind you of all the tools that you've had access to, all the trainings, and be like, remember how you know these things? That you know a lot more. What if you used and pulled some of those things off the shelf? So that's so great. And then, since these last 2 months, what has changed for you? How has this impacted your life?
The biggest thing I would say is I have a much better relationship with myself in understanding myself. And I think that's been just a huge, huge core piece, because it's like I've been working on, my physical health. And as we all know, physical health is connected to mental health, is connected to emotional health. And anytime any of those are out of balance, it's going to throw the rest of you out of balance. And I've been working on my physical health, but it wasn't until working in this program that I don't know if to call it a sensation or the message or whatever, that my body doesn't care about the past. My body doesn't care what we messed up. Yep, you goofed that up. Yes, you let this go, you let this slide for too long. You've done that. And I've never, ever been a health nut or a need to be a health nut, as that phrase goes for the far extremists. I just want to be able to be healthy enough to do some of the things I enjoy doing. And my body doesn't care what we've done. My body is like, oh, you don't want to be there? Great. Let's move forward. Let's just do the things. Let's just make these changes. And that's what really, that connection I was able to make was really the driving force in keeping the motivation going. And from taking that transformed into working on my boundaries. Like I used to be that person that I over cared or over step to things. If I was going to do a group thing and I could see fail points of where things were going to go wrong because somebody wasn't taking the time right now to plan ahead, instead of going to the person and saying, hey, have you thought about this? And you might need a little more time for that, or being able to have a conversation about it, I would just take my time to prepare for all of that. And in letting that go and having more of those conversations, I've been able to have better, deeper conversations with people. I've been able to have better, deeper conversations with myself that are, is that really yours? Or can you let them be responsible and then let them have the consequences of whatever comes of their not taking action? I mean, not quite micromanaging, but I could get there if I let myself.
Yeah. Well, and
So,
part of what you came and talked about too
oh,
was the overwhelm, was that you were
yes,
like, if I'm not in burnout, I'm about to bleed. Please help. And these
yes,
habits that you're mentioning was a part of that. And it's been so beautiful to see you shift out of it and recognize that it's not just consequences in a bad way, but it's also can be very empowering to the people in your life to feel like and you believe they can do it. They got it.
yes,
And only
yes,
you
that
step
would
in
be
as needed versus all the time, a lot more on your shoulders. And then it was building kind of resentment, if I remember correctly, and some other things that has dissipated really beautifully.
in a big way, because now I'm not, I've even cut back on doing that for myself, like planning, like over planning now and trying to plan for every contingency of a future something means you have no time to enjoy the now.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's brought me just a lot more joy. It's allowed me a lot more flexibility because it's created space in my life for me to shift gears and to flow, which then has led to just, I think, more opportunities. Some people would say, well, now that's just because you have the time to be aware. But I'm also a believer in the spirit of the universe. Pick your deity of choice, becomes aware of the changes that you're making. And suddenly it's like, oh, you're ready for that now. Okay, here you go. And so I've had opportunities and people and connections and things in a not overly whelming way. And when somebody says, hey, can you help me with this, and I start wanting to say yes, but I feel that thing in my stomach that goes, no, wait, why don't we just tell them we'll get back to them on that, so we have time to look at the calendar? And even though I might know I don't have anything for 2 weeks, I've been learning to be more patient about jumping into things. And I am finding that when I do that, the solutions, the answers, the whatever comes, even just a day later, an hour later, 2 days later, is better, is easier, is whatever it was, because now we're working at a place from having room to breathe versus trying to make all these decisions right now in that one moment.
All the have tos and the obligation and the compulsion.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really
Yeah.
it's a lot beautiful. It's a much more beautiful place to function from. And I'm so glad you're getting there. And it's just the beginning. And there's even
Yes.
more space for you to apply these to these other areas of your life. So you're still in the middle of the program, and yet you've already felt and experienced these progress. If there's anybody that is listening and watching to this and they're kind of debating, what would you say to them to be like, hey, what are you waiting for? Like, what was the thing that you would have needed to hear?
Well, part of it is, what are you waiting for? Right? I mean, the sooner you get started on creating your life, will it happen overnight? No. Does it mean that there's no more troubles or no more problems? Absolutely not. What it does mean, though, for at least for me, my experiences with this, and I'm sure for many of your other people, is that it really helps you learn how to let go of stuff that's not yours. It helps you to flow through lifes and changes with so much more ease instead of all of the drama. And you get that more even flow instead of that spike drop that just exhausts you time after time. It's one of the things I've been carrying around with me with this flexibility, and this might help people again to relate, to be like, yeah, I really need this, is if you think about an airplane and how they're structured, their wings are flexible.
Mm-hmm.
Because if a big storm or something hits, or just a huge gust, especially at flights, if those wings were absolutely immobile, they would just peel right off.
Mm-hmm.
But because they're flexible, that's what keeps everything moving nice and easy.
I love that. I'm gonna
And
borrow that and I'll give you credit.
okay. And the other thing that struck me the other day that came up was a song by Tanya Tucker. It's an old song called Strong Enough to Bend.
Ooh.
There is a confidence and a strength that I have gained. I no longer have the worry and fear about what's going to happen if I don't have all these contingency plans, because I know that I'm strong enough and smart enough and confident enough and capable enough. I've learned that. I've relearned that. However you want to phrase it, it's pulled so many things together. Even if you know a lot of stuff, this pulls so much together and creates that pathway to get you to where you want to be heading, to get you to where you want to go.
That warms my heart. It's so, so happy making for my journey, as up and down and all around that it has been, for it to lead to this program and to impact in such a positive way people like you. So thank you so much for taking the time, honey. I really appreciate it, and for all the kind words. And like I said before, it's just the beginning. We're going to
Yes.
keep on going and soaring with our flexible wings.
Yes. Yes.
Until next time.
All right. Bye-bye.